What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Babylon Podcast. You are here for a very special episode. We got Val here taking the place of Felipe. We're going to be talking to him. He's got some interesting views and everything like that. We can't wait. We got TJ. We got Antonio. Just like normal. Let's get into it. TJ, you had a cool vacation to Greece.
I did.
Is that your favorite place you've been?
I think so. I was trying to think. I've been to Europe a few times. There was a little town in France, Strasbourg, which is actually what was used for the Beauty and the Beast movies. That town.
It's right on the border of Germany, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like you can literally just walk over to Germany.
Yeah.
Best food, it was so cold. It was 17 degrees that day, but with like a wind chill of like 2. That was miserable, but the town itself, and it was like kind of snowing. It was just like from a Florida kid. But Greece was my favorite vacation by far. That was like bucket list. I turned 30 and I went to Greece.
Was it because they're bankrupt and it's super cheap over there? Or?
It is not cheap over there.
Really?
It is
I thought it would be.
expensive. It is very. It's not.
They got to pay for everything.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's not very expensive, but it is. It's like doing things in the States. It's nothing like you take a pay cut. It's not like going to Thailand or anything like that where it's like, oh, it's only like $30 a night. I spent a lot of money in Greece, and I was.
But good thing you saved a lot of money.
I saved a lot of money for it. It was a bucket list thing, but we did a lot of incredible things in Greece. I don't know if I would go back. I would do like a cruise in the Mediterranean. It is one of the most difficult places to walk. Everything in Santorini, everything's like this. Like, I'm not kidding.
Pretty steep.
That's why Europeans aren't fat.
Like, they had a guy, the Airbnb that I stayed in had a, I forgot a name, the guy who carries luggage. I forgot what.
Bellboy.
Yeah, but they had a name for it that wasn't
Pack
that.
meal.
The Bella Boy.
Whatever.
He was in
But
Greece,
they were like, hey,
Same
and
thing.
I had a backpack and one like rolling suitcase, and Cassie had a bigger suitcase and a backpack, and he took both our backpacks and both our rolling suitcases. The guy was like 5'6", like 140, and he put it on his shoulders, and he was just walking through, and we had to go all the way down, and you're like seeing these sights, and he was to our Airbnb, and I was like almost like throwing up and like how out like it was
nothing on you.
Nothing. Literally, I had nothing on me except for a camera, and I was taking photos, and I was like, it was miserable. But
born and raised, yeah.
But yeah, I'm from Florida. It's real flat here.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't know. Was that going to be insulting?
No. Mountains. I don't know about that mountain and hill life. But it's the most beautiful place on earth, that I have ever seen. Yeah. Like the architecture, the history. There was an island I went to called Milos, the most majestic beaches I have ever seen in my entire life. I'll show you some photos. We had a problem though on the last 2 nights we stayed in Milos. There were sustained 50-mile-per-hour winds for 2 straight days, with gusts up to 90 miles per hour, which is like almost category 2
hurricanes.
Yeah, it was wild. And I was driving a smart car, and so when I was driving next to cliffs and I'm afraid of heights, it would do this randomly. We would be at dinner, and it would be like classic Greek dinner. And we were just sitting outside, and also this gust of wind would come. These plates would fly, shatter. Oh. No one would say a word. I wanted to be like, "Opa!" But when it happened, I was like, "No one did it." And so,
don't want to be that guy.
But that goes down as like one of my favorite places that I ever went. My wife and I went, and it was just like we were there like 13 days. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
we've been. I used to travel. We went there. Me and my wife. We went to Crete first, and it sounded like that was the first one. We went up over the mountain, had that little car, almost falling down. Ended up getting drunk with a widow up in the mountains, drinking she doesn't have visitors up there, so she just kept bringing out the ouzo.
Ouzo.
Yeah.
Yo, this stuff tastes like black licorice. Oh. I have some still.
It's smooth, man. Yeah.
It is not. Maybe for someone like you, because
a real man.
Someone with a past.
It's a digestive. So they bring it to you at dinner. It's included in every single dinner. Yeah. And the waiter was like, "Hey, just try it." And I just went like this with just thinking it would be like
A shot of tequila.
Yeah, or vodka maybe, or like that, and like I'm like it's intense, and I'm not much of I don't really drink at all. Like I don't drink like that much, and so I went like this, and instantly was just like
A little burn.
like bro, and it went through like my sinuses. It cleared me out. Yeah, the ouzo. Oh my gosh, you can get it Total Wine.
Huh.
Nice. So, is Greece your favorite place you've been to, or no?
I liked it. We did do it. We came back later on. That was our first trip with it, and then we came back with a group of people. We had a travel agency, and we took people around the world spots. Back then, my wife.
What year is this?
This got to be
I'm gonna
like
age you.
6 years, 7.
Can you get?
I don't even know how many years ago now.
Get a little closer to your mic.
Oh, could be like 6, 7 years ago. Yeah, but we went to the island, like Santorini. But we also went to Naxos.
Yeah, I wanted to go there, but I wasn't able to.
Yeah, it was so cool. We ended up at this, like, this fort, and we were hanging out there, and all these kind of like cool, weird places you walk, and
Castles they have there.
yeah, and we were following a little bit. That was sort of the idea, like how can we incorporate Anthony Bourdain's travels, like in these trips and travels, and
Rest in
I
peace.
ended up. So she was taking the ladies, and the ladies were doing yoga and all this stuff, and then the foodie stuff did together, and I ended up taking the men to like distilleries and breweries. So that was sort of our thing, kind of jump around in, and then the last trip we were gonna do was before our son was announced, and it was Thailand. And after that, we haven't been able to do those trips. And we did a bunch of trips all over Italy and to down in Peru.
Oh yeah.
Up on it, So we've been,
Dude,
So which one was your favorite?
Yeah, which one's your favorite?
What rank?
I gotta say, my favorite trip was with my wife and mother-in-law. We went to go and look at some land that she had inherited in regards to a mine that was supposed to be on there.
Mine?
A mine.
Yeah,
So,
with little pickaxes.
yeah.
And the,
Oh, like Snow White.
Exactly. Oh, that's another
It's
one.
like
Yeah,
Magic
let's
Kingdom,
not go there.
The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
like
man.
that.
Just like
Dude,
Disney. Okay.
7 rolls that these guys not gonna get now. Just for, do you say dwarfs?
Yeah.
You say dwarfs, right?
For
the small people.
Yeah.
little people.
Little
Oh,
people.
you talking about the
people.
movie?
Yeah.
Oh, let's not get into that.
Let's not get it.
Let's
But I'm just
into
saying,
that.
man,
No.
if you're gonna do something to be like PC and right, don't take away roles that are very hard to find, especially for
we're talking about Willy Wonka.
Yeah. No, the new
Wow,
snow,
Like
the
a
new,
redesign snow-
and they
Let's not
took
get
out.
into this.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright,
So we go
The
So-
land that's mine. That has mine.
on this trip. Sorry about the trigger words, man. Well, natural segue.
What you're supposed to
You're not
say?
supposed to call them
Yeah.
midgets.
really?
You're not supposed to say midgets.
I like dwarf. Sounds the coolest.
If you say midgets, there'll be
Yeah.
a line of midgets outside.
Yeah.
I
Little
promise.
people.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Little.
John Mulaney.
If I was a dwarf, I would want to be, I would want to be called a dwarf, and I would be associating that with like big beards and axes and cool stuff. So I'm just assuming that's but maybe I'm wrong. We can cut that out if it is, or not keep
We'll
it.
see how it goes.
But I would say that trip we took to Peru, to that place, was 9 hours into desert, up the mountains, and then continue on to one town that's, there's nobody there, and then the next one, it's only locals, and further you get, you realize nobody's gonna hear me scream here. Like I can't report. There's nobody, and she tells me about her family and their history on their land, and her relative that lived there had actually his own prison. Like that's how rural it is. They had the law in their own hand, and whoever had the power they created the same systems, right? So during this trip, we died almost 3 times. 3 occasions just by trying to figure out. We have meetings with Chinese mafia to identify if this was marble or not marble. And we had midnight meetings coming to us. And
The Chinese mafia?
Well, no, people who wanted to use the land because they were walking past and carrying fruit. So they want to make sure they had, right. So sitting there negotiating, I'm like, that's it. They're taking us out. We're a threat here.
This doesn't sound like a vacation at all.
This is your favorite place you've ever been?
This is traveling.
Was when it happens, we're just going through it. We're going through everything. We're just trying to get from one step to another and get it, get the things registered, get everything handled down correctly. So the first couple of incidents happening in that town called San Pablo, and then
What country is this?
This is Peru,
Okay.
northern Peru. So
And the Chinese are there?
Chinese there, man.
Brother,
Marble
everywhere.
industry.
Everywhere.
Yeah, big time,
They're
big
everywhere.
time. Yeah. So as we walk and meet up with the Chinese guy, right? He's clearly like he's looking shady. We know it's not on the up and up.
Look like pinstripe suits. Or
We walk. Yeah. It's a bit more, casual. What do you want to call it? Yeah, dressy casual, but with some neck tattoos and. No, we didn't have a neck tattoo. But so we walking in the back, back alleys and stuff, and they're doing cockfighting, rooster fighting. But he looks and he's like, no, this is soap marble or something. He says, like, it's not the real. I'm just like, yeah, sure, man. Whenever we leave, it's going to be like, go back, take them back to the mine. Yeah. Maybe not the right accent, but so we leave.
You heard my accents? I think you're okay.
You do. But as we leave, we're going to go from there to Cajamarca. We go over the mountains and down in these serpentine roads and stuff. And when we go in that route, the guy is falling asleep, the driver, because it's so early. And I'm sitting here, and then I have...
this is his favorite vacation he's
This is
ever
still
been
his
on.
favorite vacation.
Yeah. Well, the fact we made it back alive. But he's falling asleep as he's hitting one of these curves, and my what is it? It's her uncle, yeah, Tio, I guess, right, or whatever it's gonna be. So he's doing this, wake up, he's hitting him, and waking him up right before the bend, and so we realized, we would have died. Like that was just an incident. I wasn't even aware of it. He saw it, and then he did that, and that's crazy. And the second time was going back. Going back, we had the two choices. We're going to drive with either this guy is just scanning us up and down. This has been a long trip through everything, right? I'm just trying to compress it a bit. And he's looking at us like, and we get two taxi drivers. Pick one. You got the young guy who's giving us a better deal and is giving us the deal. But he's looking. I'm like, that guy has like predator eyes. And he's like, I don't believe it. I feel the energy, everything. And the other guy is about 70, 80 something. He has one eye. I'm like, okay, I don't know. And the car is pretty full. So we end up like, I'll take the older one eye guy. I can take him. That guy, I don't know. He might just, stab me in the back or
take out one eye. Then you're good.
Yeah. But so we end up in that one, and we're driving back, and it's just started pouring down like rain and everything. And we're driving through, and he's going, as we're going in under a tunnel, he's swerving over to the other side. And I'm seeing it. And I remember the previous incident. I don't trust anybody at this point. So he's going over. It's raining, and I see like he's going. I'm going like, hey, senor, pop, and I start hitting him. Wait, like, where you go back, and kind of steer him, and it makes funny noises. Yeah. He's washing the window with his hand, kind of like the washer. It's all a messed up car, and he's going, and he drives back, and right after he steers back, a car comes from underneath, and I realized, we would have fronted completely with that one. We would have been dead.
Favorite place he's ever been.
Spectacular. Wow. It was amazing.
Was it beautiful views?
It was heavy, man. It's just when you get into a culture and when you get into a place and like, this is not tourism. This is real. This is connected to a long. Yeah, this is real. Yeah, like it's, but you kind
of very touristy.
Yeah, I was gonna say my trip was very touristy. What was yours?
Yeah, it was a mission trip that was more like a vacation. So.
You mean most of them? Sorry.
Cut that.
But you want, like, you want to go on. It's a mission, right? Yeah. Aren't we as men looking for that? Besides looking for a tribe, what's a tribe need? A tribe needs a mission. We all need missions. So these missions, even though they sound crazy or feel like, you feel more alive than ever because you're meant to go on missions, right? So
yeah. It depends on what you do on the trip, though.
Yeah, maybe not at the edge.
Where'd you go?
It's like the Dominican Republic, right by the sea.
Oh,
right, like ocean front.
It's super beautiful.
Yeah, so I was like, we helped build a wall, which was really funny because.
What year was this?
No, before it was 2014.
Okay, it was cool back
then. No, sorry, 2015. That was
pretty close.
It was 2015.
It was probably talked about. What about you, Daniel?
I was gonna say London, but for the sake of time, let's just move on. So as you can tell, we got a crazy guy sitting with us. He's a good friend of us. He's a
we're talking about you.
Yeah, good friend of ours. Goes to our church, everything like that.
Serves in the student ministry.
Serves in the student ministry with TJ and Antonio. Talk about this. So your name is Val. Didn't get through that.
It is, man.
But talk about this. Your product here. What is it?
Been doing this for. Close to a decade now, Unsocial Pomade. Yeah. And it's I call it like confidence in a jar. It's from the Dead Sea minerals, jojoba oil. It's made in Israel.
Literally smell this. Like
Really good, solid pomade.
just because I'm your friend and you,
That's good. Wow. Love it.
I can't describe how good this smells. Like I'm not even kidding. Like it is
It does smell
one of
good.
the best smelling.
Made from minerals from the Dead Sea?
Yeah, we call it original fresh cut scent. It's got that barber cut, little antiseptic, clean, fresh.
Yeah.
So you can,
So it kind of stings when you put it in.
Yeah. Little bit. Not just sting, but
Like
yeah. But that
Like
smell, right?
aftershave,
You know, just
a
like
good sting,
extra fresh.
You know, it wakes you up.
So basically, boom, first sponsorship.
Antonio,
right
go.
there.
Antonio,
Yeah.
say it. Antonio, say it.
Go.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Unsocial Pomade. I've been
Boom.
waiting for that.
Well,
I've been waiting.
not just pomade. You got a whole line
You
of
have a line,
products.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have a website?
Yeah, unsocialcode.com.
On socialcode.com. Go
Yeah, and
check
this
it
is
out, buy some
black
stuff.
mud shampoo.
Love it.
So all this is, and the idea initially, we started, getting this out to, it sells pretty good in California and traditional barbershops, old school, kind of like, that
all
was
the
the whole,
hipsters.
well, it's more like old school traditionalist.
Yeah.
So that was the aim, kind of like, call it like hippie killer,
classic man
hipster,
kind
kind
of
of
vibe.
anti-hipster more,
Yeah.
but it's still,
You call me anti-hipster?
He's full on hipster.
No, he falls somewhere.
It's somewhere in there.
yeah, so that's,
I fall somewhere in the category.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Love it. So speaking of Greece and you guys' stories there, which is, I really want to learn more about that. So it was the Greeks that started something, and the Romans that perfected it, right?
Yes.
Is that the common like narrative?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So where did Stoicism start?
In Greece.
In Greece. Okay. And you've got some experience with Stoicism and everything like that. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I wouldn't say, it's just like, you kind of, I think everybody's searching for their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Because mysticism and like spirituality is like really common with like our generation right now.
just trying to find themselves. They're just
Yeah.
trying to find,
Spiritualism is
Yeah.
huge right now.
yeah.
People are more spiritual, I think, than they've ever really been.
I'd agree.
Yeah,
with that,
I'm not buying the whole numbers game when they're saying like, oh, more people are leaving church and leaving. Yeah, but more people are spiritual than ever.
Yes.
It's on a
100%.
massive upright, and I think there's that whole how do you call it? It's changing, right? There's a new revival, but it's a bit more decentralized. It's happening where people aren't seeing it. It's not happening in one spot
You're not
massively.
seeing like a brick and mortar spot.
Yeah, this is going on. The revival is happening, and we're not seeing it. It's happening in people's own consciences, and I think that's the connect that's going to happen. It's going to be massive when it happens, right? But I think with Stoicism is one of those optimal, like, where do you go cognitively? Where do you go in this world? And I was like, before I came to Christ, and I saw, had my encounter and the glitch in the matrix, happened for me, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. That was the highest form of like, you need to become a stronger man. This whole like trial of becoming a man doesn't really happen a lot unless you're in a certain tribe, unless you're raised into it, unless you put yourself through it. But in a society where you can do everything and anything whenever you want, chaos and escapism becomes your religion. It becomes what you constantly pursue. And you love being there because you don't have, it's immortality, but it's an illusion, right? Yeah. So Stoicism, because you don't see stuff growing around you in that chaos sphere when it's happening.
What is Stoicism for our audience?
It would be the endurance, like going through pains, not having emotions, pretty much taking out the emotions of it, right? Not being overly emotional, and then being logical, being in tune with nature, all these. So it's very nature, kind of like balanced. It's not really.
I don't think it's really nature. I think so.
Or universal laws, right?
I would, from what I understand, is like, it's the endurance, pain, or hardship without feeling or without complaining, and that's from Oxford's dictionary.
Yeah.
But being aware of oneself. So I think one of the rules for Stoicism is you can't blame others around you because you're not learning.
Yeah.
When you take fault, you started the process of learning. It's like, I like Stoicism. It's a wild thing. I think it's a cool thing for some people to try to get into, but it's also, I think, a very dangerous.
It's a tool, because if you just lean on that, and I was going to get to that point of like, when you can understand that a stoic that dives into Christianity will become a much greater Stoic, right? And a Christian that can dive into Stoicism will become a much better Christian as well in this world. Not as, but in a matter of looking at Stoicism as a tool. It's a tool to chisel and shape and do these things.
There's good characteristics and attributes with Stoicism, and I think in a lot of those.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Continue.
I was just gonna ask, like, do you think a Christian can be Stoic?
Oh, because kind of what we were talking about a little bit before we started recording, where being one thing like independently and specifically, you kind of like are by nature denying and becoming an enemy to the other things and everything like that. But you're saying
it's not a religion, right?
There's a bit more, right. It's an ideology kind of lifestyle. Yeah, to where what you're saying is you can be a Stoic and a Christian.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as like, it's a Christian, that master the skills of a shoemaker. Like, it's a skill set that you add on. It doesn't take away. It's not a religion. If you can't be a Buddhist Christian, right? Mm-hmm. But a Christian Stoic, I guess, or.
Would you remove then just the phrase Stoic?
Yeah, I wouldn't even dive into like I call myself this. This is just
you would just have like the attributes.
But it's sort of like yoga, right?
Yeah,
Let's say yoga. Yeah. Somebody doing yoga. Yeah, if you're not chanting and believing and kind of like doing it religiously and praying to false gods and doing all this stuff, then you're just stretching, right? So Stoicism, I see it as the same thing. It's not my belief. It's not my faith. It doesn't even tell me that I have to, like, you have to take a stance here. Yeah. You have to be an atheist. You have to, like, no. So you take that part. I think it's just very good if somebody coming from a place, and that's what I've been thinking about since I've come to faith. How can I came through a miracle to Christ. How could I explain this to somebody who hasn't seen a miracle? Like, what would you advise them on? And I'm thinking even, how do I explain this to my son as he is inheriting faith and going through it, of like, here are the tools I would like you to understand and learn. And when you can just if you're not, you're not believer yet, and if you don't have your own faith yet, then practice, understand. If you're going to go around, look for this, look for Stoicism. Look there and understand it.
What's one of the
But it has to click in. Christianity and Christ has to click in order for that higher, for that to be complete in that sense, right? It's always going to be that 40 years in the desert otherwise. It's going to be this like spinning around. Okay, great. You're a Stoic. You have no emotions. Mm-hmm. And you just go around and around, and you're like, and then you hit a wall, right? Because you're not going to enter the kingdom if you don't believe in Christ. And that's the, it's a hard cookie to kind of like, start. Man, I'm still struggling with that, man. I talk to people, I'm just like, hey, man, you got to believe in Christ, otherwise you can't. And I go like, I don't think that's the way. I don't
the message
like doing that. I like talking to people for understand them and then you open their minds a little bit by understanding and listening, not scaring them to it. Yeah. Because guess who's gonna, once they realize it, who's gonna scare their own, minds into oblivion? Yeah. It's gonna be themselves, and to be like, that's the point. Now you see it, yeah. Were you did you feel terror? Did you feel like a terror balance and also like excitement? Like, but, and they go into that place of a terror balance where like, so where do you want to go? I want to go here. Okay.
Well, evangelism is very relational. Effective evangelism, I feel, is more relational than just straight up fear.
I think evangelism has taken a completely different turn in the past 20 years. It was very different. I mean, even when I was in missions,
brimstone and sulfur and everything like that.
We went out
Hellfire.
and we missionally went and were going to speak to 10 people that day about Jesus. Like, no matter what. Like they would send us out and be like, you're going to talk to 10 people today. If they're on vacation, if they live here, if you talked to them before, like, you're going to go and you're going to talk to 10 people. And I feel like that has completely changed. But I also feel like there's been a negative a little bit to it, where I feel like people do not talk about their faith.
It's too relaxed.
It's a little bit too relaxed. Yeah. And I feel like I get caught in that because very similar. I like to allow people to believe what they want to believe, and I want to have a conversation about it. But I think there's more about like how you treat people is probably the best tool of it. But I think us not like, there's a difference between convincing somebody and living your life and showing somebody. And I think that's what we need to be doing a little bit more of, because I feel like when we come into a crowd or a circle of people who aren't Christian and aren't following our same belief system, we more adapt to them than them adapting to us, essentially.
Yeah. And I can see the point where, like, Jesus was the one that went to prostitutes. Jesus was the one that went to tax collectors and the worst of the worst of that time. Mm-hmm. But he never adapted to them. He just went to them and built relationships with them. The adapting and by adapting I mean like compromising your character and things like that. Mm-hmm. That's where the struggle can be. And so some people are so scared of that to where they go too far one way and say, no, we just can't associate at all.
But I do see, go. I was talking. Or, I mean, I already talked, so I was going to let you.
Oh, I was going to say, well, but then we see, I think Paul kind of became...
Paul said to the Jews that became a Jew, to the Gentiles that became like a Gentile.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But at the same time,
to win them over.
But never compromised what he believed in.
And he was both. He was more Jew. He was a Jew. Well, yeah.
He was the Jews of the Jew.
To the Jews, he became like a Jew to win over the Jews. To the Gentiles, he became like a Gentile to win over the Gentiles.
Yeah, he never gave up his core beliefs.
Exactly. So like, what tools of Stoicism do you think like Christians could put apart, like add to their toolbox to grow in likeness of Christ, in the pursuit of Christ?
I think equanimity.
Okay, what's that?
Equanimity. Homeschooled.
Yeah.
And
peace. Having peace under pressure.
Awesome, I know that.
And I think that's what we all kind of need to have when those things happen, and not to be emotionally affected by it, right? Mm-hmm. And I call it something that, like, my thoughts are none of my business, and in a way of just let them go. My principles are my business. Mm-hmm. My responsiveness, what my purpose is, what my end goal is, and what I'm trying to do is my business. Just focusing on that is my boat. It's the water. It's my focus on Christ. It's that moment, right? Mm-hmm. Peter walking on the water and not being. The thoughts is everything else. It's everything around. And so, if I can utilize tools from Stoicism, where they go into battle and wars and formations, and they team up with this kind of mental thinking to be better soldiers, right? Mm-hmm. In the most brutal scenarios. Because I think what they're talking about, especially Romans, and they're talking about in war, mm-hmm. In battle, and in these scenarios to come out, peacefully, or even to die honorably. Mm-hmm.
You said something really, really cool. Because there's a couple things that in society, and like especially with younger kids, they're like mental health is more talked about now.
Big topic.
Than when I'm not old, but like when I was in school, like 16 years ago, like it just was not talked about. I didn't talk about like the things that were going on in my mind. So how would Stoicism? I feel like I just butchered that. Stoicism. Because I want to say Stoic, because like it's the act of being Stoic.
Yeah.
Stoicism.
Yeah.
Like, how would that respond? Because kids talk about now, and it's like the intrusive thoughts, like basically the battle with our own thoughts. Because you said something in there that you said like it's our response. Our thoughts are something that we just need to kind of accept and to go through. But how could that like help?
So that's funny you said that, because I actually have like some couple of rules from Marcus Aurelius, not Greek, he's Roman.
Okay, yeah.
One of his rules is, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. So the Stoic believes that one of the main sources of suffering is caused not by what happens around us, but how we interpret what happens around us.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
The cognitive dissonance. It's like, I think that a good example is this: I'm not where I want to be, or I was in a place that I was, more in love with or happier or whatever it was, and I'm not there now. The cognitive dissonance is like being in two places. Whenever we're torn in two, it's a painful kind of thing. And whenever thing that happened, like, I don't want to be here, you know. And I think about the cross. I think about things we have to do and all those things. Like, I don't want to have these thoughts, or I don't want to feel these feelings, and I want to. So it's just, I was going to put it one way. It's like chasing the ball. When you're trying to figure out the thoughts, what's going on, you're just chasing the ball. And there's no great football player is going to tell you, you know, talking soccer, like Messi, for example, right? And he's an analyzer, but he's thinking about the game, positioning himself. He knows the players, he knows the teams, he knows how it works. So he just doesn't worry about chasing the ball. He's thinking about the positioning and then just letting the story kind of happen. And he's now seeing the different kind of scenarios happening, but he's not getting upset or anything about it. He is analyzing it and positioning himself. And I think as Christians, positioning yourself is the cross for us. And whatever that is, it's constantly like that's the. But you have to do it over and over and over and over again. It's just like dying to yourself. Like, don't forget to die today unto yourself. That's the score, like in a game, right? Of battle with all these thoughts, but they're none of your business. That's the biggest thing. They're not you. And people think, oh, but my thoughts is the most. That's what I hear. That's me talking. Like, no, it's a processor throwing things at you to see who you really are, and your response is who you are.
Well, Paul says to take every thought captive. So I think that's kind of what you're getting at too.
So I guess another question would be, if we're not constantly adjusting and we're pretty stagnant in our faith, do you think deconstruction and then reconstruction is a good idea? For example, like Dan and I know for sure grew up in the church. TJ grew up in the church also. So me personally, I got my faith from my parents, and then I kind of took over their faith, and then I had it for a while. And just, I wouldn't say deconstructed it, but I kind of took their faith and then turned it into my own. Where do you kind of fall under all that? Or even you guys?
Well, because
what's a deconstruction for, like, I guess the term of it? Because there's several different terms, but I feel like you kind of have dabbled into it and not studied it, but we've talked in the past. Like, you have a good understanding.
My mom taught me how to study my Bible from like being homeschooled and things like that. I progressively had less and less classes with her and more classes with Circle Christian School. And she always held on to the Bible course because she wanted to make sure and teach me how to study my Bible, a thing that she didn't even know until her 30s, 40s. I don't know. She was married and everything like that. And she was like, oh my God, I can do all this kind of stuff. So teaching me how to use like the inductive study method and using concordances and doing word studies and things like that to get a deeper meaning of the Bible. Really, I say all that to say that like she gave me the tools to make my faith my own before I even knew how to use them. Really? Or before I even knew when to use them, I should say. So growing up in the church, I heard all sorts of things from small group leaders, from volunteers, from pastors, from worship leaders, from personalities, everything like that. And as we all have. And sifting through the dirt to find the truth and things like that. That's what deconstruction is.
I feel like that's at the root of what it actually is. I think on social media, it's essentially people are just like, I was a Christian and now I'm not, and like that's what they think. That's not what it is. It's exactly what you just said. It's
to build back
because we have to tear down. In every sports, like the Orlando Magic, we've been on like 15 rebuilds, and it's like we tear down to build back up, but they just keep going down even further. Yeah. But I think that's a great example of what it is. Because in myself, like I grew up in church and I grew up in this situation, but I never tried to study the Bible. I got to study Bible when I was like 15 or 16, and like my youth ministry at the time, like kind of showed us and kind of guided us. But I just never really kind of dove into my own faith, which then doesn't feel real to me. And since when my deconstruction was just like to leave my faith to the side, I always felt like my faith, the faith and the following of Jesus I knew was important. and I never did not believe in God, but I just knew it was important. I didn't really find it to that much importance to myself.
Mm-hmm. And so with like Reconstruction, you build back with kind of Jesus and the truth being the cement that holds it all together. So you can add things like Stoicism, and you can add things like mysticism and everything like that, but you have to align it with what the word says, and align it with the truth, to where mysticism of like energy and all sorts of like that, the stone, the
Don't say stones. Don't say crystals.
Crystals, that's what it is.
No.
Things like that, you know that there's spirits, and you know that there's spiritual warfare, but do crystals have power, like that kind of thing? That kind of stuff you have to.
But could you bring it?
Yeah, that kind of stuff you have to see what the word says.
Yeah.
Do I need to invest my time in stones? No, because I have the Holy Spirit.
I was going to say that like the combination is the dangerous part, right?
Yeah.
Where going through it and studying and looking at it is one of those things. I came in through the gospel, a way I never thought I would come in through. I came in through Christ and just conversations with him and believing through what I've seen and starting to like, okay, let me talk to it and do this. So I did it and it's interesting when you say this, all these studies, I have no idea what that is. Like, how do you deconstruct? Deconstructing, I have no idea how I would do that.
Well, because
apologetics, for example, I've considered, funny enough, that would be like unapologetics would probably be my school of like, no, I don't have to apologize for anything. I don't have to sit and have discussions in myself with my faith. My faith, because of what I saw, the miracle I saw, I believe from that alone. No matter what anybody throws at me, it's there. But apologetics is sort of this. You go deeper and deeper on, and it happens. And if you haven't truly found your decentralized, personal, like that, it's hard. And they say that, like, blessed are the unbelievers, right? That still follow. That's a strong, and it's a difficult road to do. But there is a journey to go, and I believe that everybody can have that place where it happens. Truly, like, no, that's mine. I see it now. The patterns aligned. The matrix, tore up a bit, and it was like, no, I saw that. This is different. This is my message. But that is a journey that takes time, investment, sacrifice. It might be completely random. It might not come, we never know, which is the scary part. And I think in that sense, how do I explain this to my son, for example?
Right, because you said something very interesting.
Yeah.
You said something interesting because
have a miracle. I can't say that. Have a miracle.
Yeah.
What
does that mean?
And even if I explain to him, this is what you said when you were a child, which made me come to Christ. And he's like, what do you mean? And then I have to go into, well, here's synapses. Here's your brain. Here's the burning bush. Here's all these things. I'm like, just hold on. It's going to be a big conversation. But when you go into these vast land, these potential death valleys and badlands and deserts, I will show you all these things, and once you start connecting them, you'd be like, okay, now I see it. And then it's going to come back. But at the core of it, of what I wanted to give it a likeness to, for me, the deconstructing of it will be, I have to bring, it's going to be me, my son. I have a car project, project car, and he's going to have to take it apart. I need to show him how to put it together. If the carburetor breaks, if the transmission breaks, if he needs a tire, if that breaks when he's on the road, what does that mean when he's out there?
Isn't your kid 4?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I need, so it's even trickier. No, but you see, so I have to explain those things in a way where.
And his name's Axel.
A woman, which means father of peace.
Dude.
Oh, I thought it was a piece of a car.
Yeah.
That's
what I was making a reference to.
It's Swedish.
But that's what I think. I don't think enough people have that relationship with their parents and their father or spiritual leader that like, I'm going to help you. I'm a spiritual mechanic. I'm going to sit down. Let's go through you. You're the messed up, your spiritual car here, your vessel is broken down. You didn't know how to put it together. So you said, screw it. And then somebody else came like, hey, jump in our car instead and go with us. And they'll take off. And they leave this pile in a garage. Like that's their spiritual vessel, what they're supposed to be, because they didn't have anybody to like look, we're gonna build a beautiful, your dream car, your dream vessel right here, and then what pieces do we have? What are you missing? You know, and kind of go through those bits, and then that's, I think, where relationships, right? Those kind of relationships, being that person who just like, you know, like why we're in student ministry, because I see that like that was me. If I would have had somebody like you are to them, and like what I could be to just one person there, one lost sheep that maybe takes off. There might be that. I'm the guy. I love going for the one. I'm not the 99 guy. I've never been. I always been the 1% that goes for like, who's this most silent one? Who's the one that's the most like, yeah, man, that's the mirroring part. Like, well, let's talk. What do you think you've done?
We have like 2.
And they take time to open up, right?
They do,
and they think they've been through like they have a lot. But then when you open up and like about the you've been through as well, they go like, okay, okay.
And what you're doing as well is giving them those tools and having those relationships, because whether or not they use those relationships or they still run off or anything like that, you can't take that on yourself and be like, oh, I'm a failure because I didn't give them the right tools. Apparently they might still run off and do their own thing, but they're always going to have those tools, and they're always going to have the way to get back. And so what you're giving them is you're giving them a map, you're giving them the compass and everything like that to get back here.
Can I share a story about your son that you don't know that happened today? My wife serves in the kids ministry, and your son is a part of it. And she's like, your son's like one of her favorite like kids that come there. And he came in, and all the kids are wild. It's like 3 and 4 year olds. And so they're all running around with their toys, and this is after like the Bible lesson. They go outside, so they're all sweaty and all this stuff. And Axel comes in, he says, I want a magazine, please. And Cassie's like, find some Christian book, I don't know, some kid's book, and she gives it to him, and he sits down at a table, and then all 20 other kids are like, I want a book, and then they all sit around Axel, and they're all just looking at magazines, and that's how the end of their day. I just felt like that was one of the most interesting things.
Did they make like comments like, oh,
no, she did say one kid who was like, is always just like crazy, like he got a book, and then he like knocked water over, and it got over everyone's magazine and like, their books in like a classic fashion. But
moment over.
Yeah, it's typical. But that's that. It's so powerful, man. It's just that the energy, right? Of he has that energy, like chaotic. It's at points where he's gotten in trouble, young age, but he's gotten in trouble because of all that energy, right? He's so full of life and driven, and people want to put letter they want to do that to me too. I never accepted any letter combinations. I just know I have a multitude, the whole alphabet probably, but it was just like it's all about that control of it. And the growth into it, right? And I see like what you were today when you were preaching, and the message that sticks and how it's delivered. It's so smooth. It's so good. It's it's and it's like silver. It's been refined. It's taken many years to. And I sit and I'm like, how does he do that? And I think about Chuck too. It's just like, how do they do this? It's so precise and effective. But I also think it's meant for me. I'm there for a reason. I've seen so much proof of that. But it's inspiring how that chaotic, all where it comes from, can become that. It can become that beautiful silver. And I see that. And just in his act, when he was doing that, he was just, I just want to read a magazine. He has that in him.
Yeah. And
he's being refined, but now he's just doing it. And the energy is what people follow. They just want to do it too now. So it's so important what you do.
Yeah.
It's so powerful in the act, in that small act. That if that's the Bible one day, that's all we want.
Yeah.
You have a Bible? Yes. Well, I want to read the Bible too. I want to read that is the goal, right? And he didn't have to say anything. We don't have to say or sell anything. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be in that act of read your Bible, do that thing, whatever it is, if you have that energy and confidence to go with it. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much for joining us, Val. Really appreciate it. Tell us what's going on with your life. Look at the camera address. It's all yours. Tell us what's going on with Unsocial, with your music. What's going on, man?
We got some cool stuff happening. Got a project coming out soon. I have a project called Nixa, and we're now working on. It's a new faith-based fellowship project that's going to be pretty awesome, amazing, talented that's going to be involved. Bobby Mathewson is a part of it, Alex McCulloch, and pretty heavy stuff for people that like heavy, that want their worship music to be a little extra heavier and distorted, and
have a little bit of a punch.
Yeah, punch. That's I think we're super excited about.
It's not coming to a church near you, but it's coming to a platform
outside.
near you.
Yeah, it's going to be an event right around it in the outlier parts of that community.
awesome.
But that's where we found people, right? That's where we kind of like connect through that.
Man,
Word.
it's gonna be good, man.
It all belongs to God.
Yes, sir. Well, if you want to check out his,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
So
To make the Lake County in you just all get all fired up.
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Amen. Hallelujah.
If you want to check out
Praise Jesus.
If you want to check out his testimony, you can check it out at our channel on YouTube. You'll just see his face on the thumbnail. It's great.
We'll link it somewhere.
We'll link it somewhere probably in the show notes and everything like that. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe.
The views, information, or opinions expressed during Online Community Podcast series are solely those of individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Family Church, its members, or employees.